and kind of go over some brief roles and responsibilities that we know of at this moment. And then we'll kind of quickly roll through. I don't think it'll be a long agenda, but
All right, I shot it over to Ray, so hopefully he'll jump on.
I just texted him, let him know you just sent it.
Awesome. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Is that how it works?
So they say.
Oh. I just tried to call him. It went straight to voicemail. So I'm assuming that means he's trying to log in. Hey, Robert, do you want to text him? Give him a little bit of push.
commission, we'll need to elect a chair, which I would recommend deferring that to a full meeting. And then some kind of regularly scheduled meetings. So whether that is a monthly thing before each commission meeting, or if it's, I think previously they were quarterly. So I think you could start one way and change it, but that's something to think about. But Rachel, I think at this point, for the sake of time, it's 9:11 that we you do a roll call and hopefully.
That's right.
Perfect.
All right.
And
well,
then,
great.
Bill, since
Yeah,
Haley's not
I'm
on the call,
sorry.
will you be the one to start the meeting and adjourn it at the end? Kind of
Sure.
be our chair. All right.
Okay, call the meeting to order.
And I'll go ahead and read the virtual meeting statement. Today's meeting is a public meeting. Citizens can listen to this meeting if they contacted the city's manager's office to make the necessary arrangement. The meeting will also be live streamed on the city's YouTube channel. A recording of today's meeting will be available by Friday, February 18th on the city's website and YouTube channels. And then I'll go ahead and do a roll call. Bill Oakes,
Here,
Billy Rich,
Here.
Ray Bowden,
Here.
Vicki Miller, and Haley Jingles. All right, thank y'all.
All right, thank you, Rachel. So I'll just do a welcome here. Thank you all for kind of jumping on here. I know we're missing a few people, but we do have a quorum, right? So that's good. As I mentioned, and I'll have Rachel record this in the minutes for the next meeting, is we do need to elect a chair, which I don't think you guys should do without having all 5 members. Then ultimately, I'll read based on city code what the marketing subcommittee is to the Public Assembly Facilities Commission. Ultimately, the commission shall appoint a marketing committee to assist and advise the public assembly facilities, respective directors in the marketing of the facilities, their activities, their events, and to perform any other duties as the commission may assign. And then it goes on to talk about members, and that it shall be a standing committee meeting. So ultimately, we'll need to define what that standing meeting is at some point as well. I would recommend when we leave here that we schedule it again so that the commission knows and can be announced at the next meeting on, is it Monday? Is it next Monday? Next Monday.
Yeah, next Monday.
So ultimately, for those who haven't been a part of the commission for a number of years, we actually talked about resurrecting this committee about a year plus ago. It never kind of got anywhere. COVID could have been part of it, and then obviously there's a lot going on. So it's good to see. Thank you to those who have kind of jumped in here and can start looking at what we do here and how we do it and things we can improve. And one of the key drivers in it right now, obviously the city has a big inclusion and diversity push to make sure we are equitable all throughout city departments. So that really includes the public facilities as well. And it's not just who's coming to the events, but how we rent those facilities, how people find out about them, where it's marketed to. So all those things, and Brittany and her team are on this call to give, I think they're going to give a brief presentation about what they do. And then we could possibly go into kind of a tool we just kind of are putting into place to really develop, to see who is renting from us, and what that tells us about folks who are renting from us. So I'm going to kick it to Brittany with the Human Relations Department, and she can kind of go over a presentation real quick. Does that sound good?
Can I ask one thing before we move forward, Robert?
Yes, sir.
So, especially since Billy's his time is limited on this, and since there's only 5 people in this committee, instead of us determining a committee, next committee meeting, subcommittee meeting, I would ask that we do a quick email to the 5 members and say when works and doesn't. Since there's only 5 people, we could probably figure that out much easier.
Rachel can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I don't think you're allowed to do that because that would be considered some kind of meeting if 5 people are on an email.
Oh,
We might
okay.
be able to make like a doodle poll or something.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, a
Maybe you guys
doodle poll.
Yeah,
Okay.
we should be able to
That's
do
what I
that.
was thinking, like a doodle poll, not another meeting to discuss, but just a doodle poll to send that out to ask everyone.
Okay. Yeah. Just Rachel, make sure it's on separate emails to them all, not one.
Yeah,
chain.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's easy.
Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Give me just a moment. Okay, am I still good to go?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, alrighty. So good morning, everyone, and happy Valentine's Day. So my name is Brittany Pitts, and I'm the Equity Assurance Administrator for the Human Relations, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department. Thank you so much for having me speak to you today about our DEI initiatives that our department has in store for the city of Winston-Salem. We are going to go ahead and begin. We only have a few slides. We'll try to be as brief as possible, but we just wanted to highlight the things that we are doing in our department as it relates to DEI. So if you have any questions, I do have a team member on the call as well. Feel free to drop them in the chat or we will address them at the end as well as you please, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. On the screen, you see our mission statement. Feel free to read it at your leisure, but I would just say that our department is committed to the philosophy of inclusion and equal opportunity, as well as fair treatment. So whether it is to provide for our external needs, which are gonna fall under human relations, or our internal needs, which fall under DEI, we are committed to the elimination of discrimination in all of our municipal programs and services. So although we're one huge family with one big department, we have separate functions that all fall under the same umbrella, if that makes sense. So essentially you're getting the best of both worlds. So our external side of the house is where we do our landlord-tenant mediation, our fair housing investigation. We do Hispanic outreach. We also have 2 new staff members for the City of Winston-Salem non-discrimination ordinances that went into effect on January 1st of this year, if you did not know, in addition to various boards and commissions such as yourself. But internally, on the other side of the house, which is the work that I do and the DEI team do, we focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and our organization as a whole. So we are internal facing, dealing with our departments and our employees. And so we're just going to speak about the different initiatives that we have in place, but together as a whole, we make up the Human Relations DEI department. And so on this slide, specifically for today, I'm going to speak about the DEI side of the house. Our immediate focus is to assess our internal racial equity and inclusion efforts within our organization. So on the slide, you're going to see my fabulous team that makes up DEI and our primary job duties. Of course, we are under the direction of Dr. Wanda Allen Abraha. She is our director and oversees the entire department. Myself as Equity Assurance Administrator, I'm doing more of the legal compliance and research to provide recommendations based on best practices for equitable outcomes. So it is our hope that city departments would take the steps that are needed to update their policies and practices to ensure equity. Next, we have Mr. Shane Taylor, who is our Equity and Inclusion Coordinator coordinator. He's actually on the call today. He is our newest staff member. So he's going to be doing some training on cultural competency topics such as race or gender identity or expression, LGBTQIA, anything you can think of as it relates to protected classes or statuses of persons, or anything related to DEI. Shane would be your person. So he's going to be the ones creating those presentations and those trainings, doing the newsletters and any type of program related to DEI. And then last but not least, we have Myra Ramirez, who is our DEI administrative assistant. So she was a human relations intern for about a year, and now she's our full-time admin. Not only does she assist in the implementation of DEI initiatives, but she also serves as a budget liaison and a co-web editor as well. So together, we make up the DEI team. And again, as mentioned earlier, we are here to serve our departments and our employees. And this is just a quick message from our team. Our goal essentially is to produce DEI excellence within our organization. So we plan to work extensively with our city departments and employees to embed equity and inclusion throughout our organization. DEI is fairly new. It was created last year, and then a merge took place with human relations. So we really hit the ground running, and we're really trying to promote the work that we do so that the employees within our organization know that we are here for them. And so here's how we do it. Here's our primary focus areas: the legal compliance, research and recommendations that will fall under myself, employee training and engagement that falls under Shane Taylor. And then together we can do interdepartmental support and consultation. So departments can reach out to me if they realize, hey, there are some inequities in-house and within our department, or, there may be some that you don't even know. Departments can reach out to me so we can go through a process and create an equity or strategic equity plan to address those inequities. And kudos to Public Assembly Facilities, because they're one of the departments who have took that extra step in doing so already to ensure equity in their rental of facilities or vendor selection. So kudos to you all. But alternatively, if departments within the city need training or programming, they can reach out to Shane. And he'll be able to guide them and direct them and produce those departmental trainings per request as well. So we are literally here to serve our departments, and we can't say it enough. And we all have to be faithful servants with this work being done. So we can provide the recommendations and we can offer the trainings, but it's up to the department heads and the employees within the departments to follow out and carry on that plan. So briefly, I'm going to speak about our past, present, and upcoming initiatives, but does anybody have any questions thus far about who we are, what we do, etc.?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so our past initiatives, they're listed on the screen. So first and foremost, the Government Alliance on Race and Equity. The City of Winston-Salem has formed membership with GARE. What it is a network of various jurisdictions across different states coming together to network and to share DEI tools and resources. So they provide those things to us, and anyone within the City of Winston-Salem, an employee, since we have a membership, they can go into the portal and they can sign up and register a login. And so they'll have access to those materials as well. So it is actually time for us to renew our membership. We've been a member since April of last year. Additionally, in November, we did a Veterans Day appreciation for our city employees who are also veterans. We celebrated them, I believe it was maybe November 10th or 11th. It was the day before the holiday. Each department that we recognized that had actual veteran staff members, we dropped off donuts to each of the locations. So that was an initiative that we did to promote inclusivity within our organization. They were very, very excited and happy that we, thought about them. Oftentimes you're overlooked, and we just wanted to thank them for their service to our organization and to our country. Additionally, we have been reviewing reviewing some of our city policies and procedures because we're all new here. So we need to learn what exactly is in place currently. Organizational training, back in, I believe, October, we did our first training on disability awareness. We collaborated with Parks and Recreation to produce this training for our organization. We implemented the equity core team, and Robert is actually a member of the team. It is, we have city employees, representatives from each department to come together to create our equity action plan for the city. So we haven't begun creating it yet because we're trying to get training there. However, we still have been meeting monthly. Mr. Shane Taylor is actually the chairperson for the equity core team. We meet monthly. We just talk about recommendations and different things that the city can do to promote DEI. LEP, which is the limited English proficiency compliance review. This is something that I actually conducted basically to comply with our Civil Rights Act and our Title VI laws. We want to make sure that we are providing materials and access to those citizens or residents who speak another language. So according to the 2020 census for the city of Winston-Salem, the second highest spoken language is Spanish. So we wanted to make sure that our city departments have materials or forms or things on their website that can be translated or is already translated to another language. So if we encounter someone who speaks English, we'll be able to provide those things and materials to them. So there are some of the past initiatives that we have done. As far as present initiatives, we are doing our departmental consultations for our city employees who are on the call. The city manager released the employee equity survey on last Friday, which we're doing that survey in the organization as a whole to test the temperature of DEI and see what inequities they may realize or have faced personally. Equity core team members, they are serving as our DEI champions or liaisons. Additionally, we are having cultural competency trainings once a month for the next year and a half. Mr. Shane Taylor is over those trainings and he has already hit the ground running. We're actually having a cultural competency training on race for this month. I believe it's the fourth Wednesday of this month. So feel free, city employees, to sign up for the training. And additionally, I am personally working on a DEI 6-month report just to report some of the things that we have done from September, which is when I started with the city last year, up until March, the things that we have implemented and the things that we are in place. And some of these items are ongoing. So just know that even though it's present or past, it could definitely be ongoing as well. And then here are some of our upcoming initiatives. Please note that we do foresee more initiatives in the future, and we are always open to receiving suggestions, feedback of ways to benefit the organization. So anything that you see or don't see, reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns or any feedback, because once again, this is still rarely new. I mean, it was created last year. So we want to all be faithful servants and do the things that we have to do for the benefit of our organization. But just to highlight some of the things that are on the slide, we are trying to highlight DEI within our organizations by way of newsletters or equity core team. We are thinking about having employee resource groups. So these will be employee-led groups. Whether it is, for young professionals like myself or for Hispanic, Latinx, or you may want to have like an LGBTQ affinity group. We are in the works of implementing those groups as well to foster an inclusive workplace and build a sense of belonging within the city of Winston-Salem. And so on this slide is just our team information. Myself, Shane, Myra, as well as our director. If anyone has any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact us and we will be able to address any of those needs. And that is my presentation. If I went too fast, I do apologize, but if you have any questions, we are here to answer them for you. And if you don't have any questions, that is fine as well. Feel free to shoot us an email or just give us a call.
Thanks, Brittany.
No worries.
All right, I'll just jump ahead kind of to that next item. I think Billy Billy might be checking in at the moment, but for Bill and Ray's purposes, and we can go into this more next time we meet, and we'll probably actually touch on it at the commission meeting next week.
I can stay on, no problem.
Okay, great. So ultimately, I just want to go over, the next item there is a discussion about the programming at the fairgrounds. So the last few years, we've been getting a lot of questions and about events that we hold up here at the fairgrounds, and if we're equitable to all in the community. So part of what we ultimately came to is we don't really know that. We don't know. We don't have a tracking mechanism. We don't know who's booking our facilities, where they're coming from. So what we worked on with Brittany was really getting a tool in place that as part of the contract and application process, we would start to define who these folks were renting from our facilities. And what we think we're going to gain from that is collecting this information and actually identifying who these folks are, where they're coming from, and that can help us 6 months to a year down the road kind of determine how we're marketing our facilities to be more equitable in the community, if that makes sense. So it's kind of a two-step process. With the application process, we send out voluntary information about the folks who are booking as an ownership of the event. And then the second part of that is if they decide to go to contract, they can voluntarily fill out a workforce demographics sheet, and that kind of helps us tell them a little bit more about them. And then we can take all that information over a time period and say, hey, we have 90% of what we're doing is through these kinds of folks, and 10%, or it'll just give us an idea of where to go. And we'll work with Brittany's team and you guys to really determine what we need to do differently. So I know that's the driving force of these meetings. That's something we want to be intentional about. But I don't want to take away from more creative things that you guys may want to do as well. I know I've had discussions with some members on this call and out of this call about the names of certain buildings here and facilities that maybe can help expand the marketability of the facilities. And I'm trying to think, I know there's a few other things that have been talked about, but just in general, marketing of events overall, we can start bringing how we do that now on self-promoted events, or even how we do that with our current clients. So, I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, I'll welcome any discussion right now, but I feel like we might almost repeat this agenda once we have a full committee here. But Bill, Ray, Billy, if you have thoughts or comments.
Robert,
Yes, sir.
I had a couple questions. One, so is the survey, it's two pieces. It's one, who's renting, and then two, who's attending. Did I understand that correctly? So there's two prongs to that discussion?
There are two prongs, but the first one is part of the application process. So the application process, I mean, let's just hypothetically say if we do 100 contracts a year, we probably do 300 applications a year. So the application process is specific to the person filling out that application. It asks pretty much, male, female, race, ethnicity, and that's pretty much it. So that's going to give us that information of here's the people who have found out about our facility and who are interested in renting that facility. So we'll have kind of a baseline there. And then the next step would be, once there's a contract in place, because as I just explained, 1/3 of those who fill out application actually go to contract. So once that contract's in place, then it's a little bit broader. It kind of hits the whole workforce demographic. So if, I'll take the wedding show, for example. The wedding show guy rents the facility, he goes under contract. The contract questionnaire that goes back with him is really going to target his workforce. So him and his employees and who he has working for them. So nothing yet as far as the kind or type of events that come. I think that could come a year down the road, but I don't know if we had this conversation with Brittany. I know DJ, works on branding and marketing with me. We've talked about it with a few folks, and some of that is hard to identify because so many of our events are just general events that don't target specific individuals, such as a wedding show or a video game auction or a hockey game. I think some folks would find it hard to, almost fill out some kind of paperwork to say, yeah, here's who I'm targeting. So we don't have that in place at the moment.
And does the fair do any sort of demographic studies during the fair, like interviewing, anything like that of fair attendees?
Nothing that we didn't do anything last year. So I can go back, and Cheryl could maybe speak more to this. A couple years ago, there were 3 straight years where we did surveys. There were intentional surveys that were given. And I can, for the next meeting, we can pull that out. We had survey information of fair attendees, and then we coupled that with obviously Ticketmaster purchasing data. So we do have kind of a good general scope of fair attendees. Kind of we know what the average fair attendee looks like, so to speak, from gathering all that information. We do have that.
And in the agreements that you have with folks that do ticketed events, is there anything that you guys have ever requested that has asked for data like zip code or anything like that, if they use a Ticketmaster or something like that? Or is that just too difficult or onerous to put into with those that do ticketed events that are maybe sold online or whatever?
So Ticketmaster, if I'm understanding you correctly, when we do ticketed events on Ticketmaster automatically collects that data. So we can pull that for any events or any period of events. So if we wanted to go back and say from 2019 to today and look at some kind of zip code data, or they do have demographic data as well. We could do that with Ticketmaster. Anything else? Anyone got any?
Not for me.
Okay. So I think, unless anyone objects, I guess we don't have a chair, so I guess I'm pseudo chair, which I don't think I'm allowed to be, but
It'll have to be a member that ends the meeting.
Yeah. So Bill, you'll have to end the meeting, but
Yep.
I think so. I'm just going to recap. Maybe next steps would be identifying a meeting time through a doodle poll, which we're going to send out. And then identifying a chair, and then maybe just, that kind of sounds like the start of it, and we can kind of revisit some of this at the next meeting when it's a full capacity. And then Rachel or Brittany, are you guys on for next Monday as well for a similar presentation, or have we already done that at the commission level?
We have not done it at the commission level. If you'd like to add it to the agenda, Brittany, if you're available next Monday at noon.
Next Monday at noon. Okay, I'm available.
And maybe we can do that first, Rachel, on the agenda whenever that starts getting worked on, because I know we have financials
Okay. Perfect.
And those sometimes take a while. So Brittany, you won't have to stay for the whole thing, but if you present
Okay.
the slideshow to the whole commission, you can jump off unless you want to learn about, hours of financials.
Okay, no worries.
All right,
Okay.
Bill, whenever you're ready.
Well, I will close the meeting. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for everyone for attending, and we will look forward to seeing you next Monday at noon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.